Welcome, everyone, to episode 23 of the official podcast for Guardian 1, a Destiny group dedicated to the prosperity of Guardians everywhere. We broadcast live Thursdays at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, right here on twitch.tv/Guardian 1 Network. My name is Remy, and tonight I am joined by River.
Cheese.
Crimson Warlock.
What's up, everybody?
Jez.
Good morning.
Agrios.
Greetings, Guardians.
And returning champion, Tanner.
Hey, how's it going?
We are going to be talking about all things Destiny, but first, housekeeping.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening in on the podcast. However it is that you choose to listen, be sure to follow Guardian 1 on Twitter at G1NET. Just a reminder, the Twitter account is the only instance where we use the number 1. So, yet again, that's G, the number 1, NET. In addition, be sure to check out the Guardian 1 website at guardian1.net. Also send us feedback to our email, feedback@guardian1.net. We also have a Bungie.net forums group that's currently at 122 members. If you want to join, just search for the group name Guardian 1. Guardian 1 has its own clan, so if you want to join the Guardian 1 clan, just select the buttons that say Set as PlayStation Clan or Set as Xbox Clan. After you join the group, we utilize the forums for comments and feedback, so be sure to join the conversations going on there. Big thank you to all those currently in the Twitch chat. As Remy said at the top of the podcast, you can watch the show live at twitch.tv/Guardian1 Network. We broadcast every Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Can't catch the show live? You can always go to the Guardian 1 YouTube channel, youtube.com/Guardian1 Network. Guardian 1 is a proud member of the Guardian Radio Network, so be sure to check out the Guardian Radio Network website at theguardiansofdestiny.com. There you'll find all the different podcasts as part of the network, including the flagship podcast Guardian Radio. They broadcast every Monday night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 Pacific on twitch.tv/Guardian Radio. You can also follow their Twitter account at Guardians of D and their YouTube channel, youtube.com/Guardian Radio. Other podcasts include Warlock School, TTL Party Chat, the DOD podcast, and also the... what's it called? Oh, man, I'm like at a loss right now. Audio Grimoire. Ghosts and Echoes. There we go. That works for me. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
No.
Okay, so let's start off of this show. Let's catch up with Tanner. Tanner, when was the last time you were on the show? Was it before Destiny launched? Yeah.
What? Yeah, it might have been.
I think it was.
It was
right before. Yeah, it was right before, I think.
It was like a week or two.
It's all a blur since then.
I totally agree. Lots of playing video games. So where do you stand in it? Like, what is your let's just catch up real quick. What is your preferred class? What is your preferred primary, secondary, or special and heavy? And what do you think about the game overall? Like, I know that we were talking about, this game that could be so grand, and all of these things that we've now seen the first, the initial release and the first expansion. And so, where are you? Like, are you still enjoying it? And what have you settled into? Like, I know in the very beginning I was huge on a certain portion of the game, and then it transformed for me. So let's start with your Guardian.
That was a lot. My main, which I started with, is the Hunter. I still love the Hunter. I run Blade Dancer the majority of the time. even though I switch over every once in a while, I still like the gunslinger. And I have a Titan and a Warlock, but I feel like the Hunter's just my first one, and he's kind of the one I really love. But I run all three. I didn't do the same character thing. I wanted kind of the experience, all of it, and I really enjoy most of them, really. But yeah, my heart's always kind of stuck with the Hunter.
I like it. I like it. We have a resident hunter here, River. River. He was going to be a Titan originally. Like he was going to be a bro Titan with me, and then went to hunter.
Close. What it was is I was going to be a Titan for the beta, but my heart has always been hunter.
Okay. See, I hadn't played any first-person shooters in a while. My heart was in hunter, and I actually had this discussion with Remy before. I'm like, dude, I want to do hunter. But I played the Titan in the beta because I'm like, a lot of armor. I haven't played these games in a while. I just want to run around and shoot stuff and not worry about it. But I to my better judgment, I went with the hunter, and I haven't looked back. I really enjoy the hunters.
I tried to dissuade him from hunter just because it seemed like a lot more work. Like that double jump doesn't get
You had no
nearly
faith
as
in
far.
my gaming skills.
Well, actually, it was you that had no faith in your gaming skills, and
Don't
I
you
just
ever say that.
you just said that.
Don't listen to me.
You just said that. So yeah. So okay. So what is your go-to primary? You know, is there one gun that stands out above all else?
You know, I mean, it was kind of between. I like the feel of the auto rifles more than I really like to use them, I guess is the best way to say that. And then I had scout rifles I was really into, and then I ran with some buddies and they had hand cannons. I'm like, I'll give that a shot. And really after that, I have to pry myself away from a hand cannon. I like to mix it up because it's just for the different feel of all the guns. But hand cannon is the primary. I ran the Devil You Know for as long as, I had it, and it was hard for me to put that down at all, really.
I see. And what about secondary and heavy, or do you just swap those out?
Yeah. Well, I got Icebreaker as a legendary that upgraded to an exotic early, like before I realized how badass it was, and so I had it before Zur had it, and I'm like, oh, this thing's cool, you know, it looks crazy, and I was just killing things left and right. And since then, it's been a game changer. I mean, I had to purposely put it out of my inventory for a while just so I could use other stuff because I got it just became so much a part of my game that once it was leveled up, I'm like I need to, I bring it out for all the big stuff, but yeah, Icebreaker I feel is probably the biggest game changing gun that for me at least in the game. And then the heavies I kind of mix. I like the feel of all the machine guns and stuff. So I have Thunderlord, and I just got that all ranked up the second, the 2.0 version. And I really like the feel of that, but I almost use that as a scout rifle half the time. So,
got it. Yeah, I wish I had picked up Icebreaker or had realized how awesome it was going to be at the time. Such a dumb mistake, and I ended up picking it up, a couple weeks ago in a Nightfall. So I'm very excited about that, and it really does change the game. It is absolutely an amazing tool, and I can't wait to also have it on the Xbox. So what is it that you do? Like when you log on and you have time to play, what is your go-to?
Okay. I have a problem with bounties. I run lots of bounties. Like even when I'm going to do something productive other than just run around and shoot random things and run in circles and open treasure chests and whatever, but I do a lot of that. And then, I had a good raiding group for a while. I think somehow they all got kidnapped or just disappeared. I have no idea what happened to everybody. So I haven't really had a chance to raid the last couple of weeks. I've been busy, and so it's really just kind of I started leveling up a warlock. But when I get on, I'll usually do as many bounties as I can, run through the stories, and if anyone I know is on, then we jump into the Nightfalls and stuff like that. But I haven't done Crucible in a while. I'm kind of getting an itch to get back into that. Last time was a while ago, and I just got handled so bad that I kind of cowered away from it for a bit, but I think I'm ready to go back and get shot some more.
Cool. I think that if you go into it and thinking that you might lose or that, there's a way of calming yourself to where it doesn't matter and then you can have fun with it. But at the same time, if all of your team sucks, then you're you're just screwed. You're just screwed. Awesome. Well, it's it's great to have you back on the show. I'm looking forward to your input. And does anybody have any questions for Tanner before we move on to the next section or conversation piece? Well, all right then.
I do want to say, I haven't been on the show, but I have listened. I haven't caught up on the last two, I think. But I listen to you guys at work half the time, so I feel like I haven't really lost too much. And the show's been great. I enjoy it, all you guys.
Oh, thank you very
thanks,
much.
man.
Your check is in the mail, Tanner. Oh, damn this mute.
Glad to have you back.
So let's. I saw this really great post by Captain Kev91 called "Weapon Damage Explained" (parentheses with science all capitals exclamation point). And there's a ton of really great research done here and information. And a couple of the things I just wanted to bring up was I did not realize that you didn't do additional damage for the levels that you are over an enemy. Like, I thought that there was some portion that was more. You know, like if I was level 31 and I was shooting a level 30, like I would be doing more damage, but this is not the case. And just as a show of hands, who here knew this? Who here knew that if you were 31 and your enemy was 30, that you did no additional damage? It was as if you were level 30. Anyone here know this?
Prior to what date, though?
I knew it.
Prior to my sending out this thing for us to talk about.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I knew
I
it
knew
launched,
prior to
basically.
Was that Agrios?
I said yes. I did prior to you sending that out. I mean, I didn't know. Like, I went out and checked the numbers myself, but I was siding with the people who claimed that was accurate. I should say that way.
Got it. Yeah, I knew that there wasn't any way that I was continuing to shoot this level 5 enemy and not think that I was doing level 30 damage, but I didn't realize that it just stopped there. And I think that's really interesting. I think that's a really crazy, like, I'd love to see the math behind this. How did they figure all this out? How did they link all these numbers? And then the compared to a guardian of equal or greater level to a given enemy, your damage decreases equal or above is 0. -1 level is 32% less damage. -2 levels is 45% damage, and -3 levels is 52% less damage. I think that's pretty insane. And again, I wish I could see what the numbers were. I'd love to talk to the people who were thinking this up, because this is, I don't know, this is way beyond D&D. You know? But I mean, I bet it was a great conversation, and I bet all the people there involved were, I don't know, patting themselves on the back, because I feel like it's a system that will contain like this creature growth, you know, like overpowering creatures, and how do you keep the game? How do you keep Cosmodrome at all? Attractive. You're not just one-shotting everything on the field, and so I don't know. It's a great system, and it's cool to know. Also, these critical hit multipliers for the weapons are as follows. Assault rifle critical hits are 2.5 times the damage. Pulse rifles are 3 times the damage. Hand cannons are also 3 times the damage. Scout rifles are 3 times the damage. Sniper rifles are 5 times the damage. It says fusion rifles has no crit multiplier. And that makes sense because I haven't seen a critical hit, like the number turning yellow. Shotguns, it has 2x question mark. Still iffy about this. It's pretty damn hard to get just a single pellet to score a crit. So that's cool. That's cool. And then machine guns are 2.5 times. This is very interesting and something definitely to think about. The last one I wanted to say was that the focused fire perk on Suros regime increases damage by 33%, and the Suros perk damage increase is inversely proportional to the number of rounds left in the magazine and increases exponentially. There's a linked spreadsheet in this Reddit article. And it's all well worth a read. There's a ton more data in there, but I didn't want to go too too deep on this. Just those three things really stood out to me as pieces of information that are good to have. It's definitely something. It's definitely something to think about. Did any of you have something to add to this article and this conversation?
Well, give me a second here. I'm clicking the link right now so I can
Yeah.
get a better look at this thing.
I
It's-
actually thought.
What's that?
When you were just saying, I kind of started to glance at this because you sent it to me. I didn't get a chance to really read it all. But when you were just saying with the weapon perks, because I know there's certain things where it's I don't remember them offhand exactly, but it's kind of like when reload after a kill and you get bonus damage. It'd be interesting to know what that bonus damage was. Like I don't know if it goes into that deep of stuff, but because I always wondered about that. I'm like, oh, cool, extra damage, but it's like I have no idea of how much more, if it's worth it. Like you can't really tell when you're out there shooting people. But
Totally. It's just a
definitely
feeling that
interesting
you
for sure.
get, right? It's something to think about, something you could go back to. I mean, if you would rather use one kind of weapon and you're looking for a greater multiplier on that, like I don't know, sniper rifles. That explains why sometimes I'm hitting for 19,000, 20,000 points on one of those big guys. So
it would
yeah.
have been nice for him to include how much it slows down the firing of Suros too.
Oh,
I was thinking that too. That's one of those big things that people debate about the Suros regime a lot, is whether or not it's worth it
totally.
to really put in that damage, extra damage in there for the slower rate of fire.
Well,
Right.
I wouldn't know where to reference it at, but from what I understand, it's worth it for Iron Banner, but not worth it for regular PvP. As far as some people, I know some people have already crunched the numbers. How reliable it is or not, I would have to do some deep searching to try to find this. But I know back early on, there was definitely a discussion when Iron Banner was out about this with Soros, and according to the numbers they crunched then, it was better for Iron Banner to go ahead and have it slowed down and damage increased.
Yeah. It's definitely something that you can calculate. We should tell that Dato to look in this direction. Like maybe he already has the formula to this. But yeah, so it's really a great read. Lots of stuff on Reddit is awesome to read, but I don't know. This stood out to me as something that I wanted to share with our listeners because I don't know. There's just a lot of really good information in here. Did you have any? Did you find anything you wanted to add, River?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out to any listeners out there that there's also a little bit of stuff on some of the raid weapons that you can pick up, some detailed damage information for that, as well as some things that you may not have known about your own stuff, like the Weapons of Light perk for the Titan's bubble shield. That's in there if you ever wanted to figure that kind of stuff out, or maybe even how much the burn modifier really does in Nightfall. That's also in there. So yeah,
that was
good
actually
information.
That was actually one of the other things I wanted to bring up too. Was Weapons of Light. Like people as a Titan, people ask me to throw down the Weapons of Light. I prefer to use the Armor of Light because it just seems to me like lasting longer is the better. But I mean, I guess if you do more damage and you take out those threats, it's worth it. But it says here that it increases all weapon damage by 25%, and that's not tiddlywinks. That's not a small amount of damage. Especially when you're talking about adding that to a critical. That's huge. So yeah, awesome. Well then, what's that?
I was just going to add with Weapons of Light, if you're 31 and you're able to get Weapons of Light and then hit Crota with the sword, you're hitting him like you're 32.
Is that that's how that's working out?
It takes him down really fast.
Oh, I like it. Awesome. Alrighty. Well, why don't we go then to Agrios, where he will dispense the first weekly update from Bungie of the new year. Some interesting news, some sad news, and some good news. So take it away, Agrios.
Lots of stuff going on with this week. We started off with a small discussion about the upcoming hard mode for Crota. One thing worth noting, I guess I should say to start off with, is that they note that we have actually beat Crota over 1 million times, which is just a huge number, considering that it's only been out for a month now. They state that hard mode for Crota's End is going through the final few stages of deployment. It's almost ready. As soon as we have a concrete date to share, we'll set it in stone so that you can assemble your crew for that first run, or so you can find the time to tune into the streams and vicariously witness the madness and note of the new and necessary strategy updates. We're not going to spoil any hard mode surprises here. You'll need to learn a new trick or two, but given your past performances, we're pretty sure plenty of you will find a way to come out on top and earn some shiny new trophies to take with you on your next adventure. So apparently there'll be shiny new trophies. I don't know about you guys. That seems to imply that there will definitely be new rewards that we aren't currently getting for Crota's End. Is that the way you would interpret this?
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
They go on to say, in the meantime, they have prepared a separate patch, which will be ready for deployment as early as next Tuesday, January 13th, also known as Crota Cuts the Cheese.
Nice.
Crota's End updates. The existing pit treasure chest reward is moved to killing. So the existing pit treasure chest from the first section, the one that respawns from each of the different doors in what is referred to as the pit, is going to be moved to killing Ur-Yut, the Death Singer. That's the wizard right before Crota. She has a chance to drop exotic weapons and armor, class pieces, and radiant materials. They go on to say that the pit treasure chest will now just contain radiant materials.
Yeah,
so
that's
the chest
upsetting.
will be there like normal, you just don't have a chance for an exotic from it anymore. And finally, Ur-Yut will have a reward, so people will have a good reason to play it and not just skip over it.
Interesting.
Do you think this was a good idea? Do you guys feel like this was a good move? I mean, it's disappointing that it's not so easy for an exotic chance initially, but do you think it's a good move for Destiny?
I definitely think so. The having to work for your loot definitely fits in with Bungie's plan for the game. So, like, just that fight, in my opinion, is harder than Crota is, because much more can go wrong. I mean, Crota is difficult. Crota does a lot of crazy stuff, but once you get it down, Crota can go down pretty fast. But the witch it's tough. Like, even 31s, it's tough sometimes. So I think we needed to have loot there from the beginning.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. And I haven't been there myself. The group I raid with is usually done with the raid by Saturday, or they're tired of playing the raid by Saturday, or they're out visiting. I don't know. But I have not been there. But when I watched a playthrough of it, I thought to myself, this is where there should be a loot drop here. Like, this is a huge portion, and there should be something there. But I think to myself, what was the purpose of them having an exotic drop that close to the beginning to begin with? Like I'm fine that they're changing it. I mean, it sucks because it was something that I always looked forward to the last couple of weeks. Even though this one, I got 2 No Land Beyonds for some reason. But I understand the change, and I don't know. I mean, it only makes sense. But in that thinking, it only makes sense to have not had exotics drop from that first chest to begin with. You know?
Well, all I ever got was radiant materials from it anyway, so no water off my back.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously.
Are you running 3 characters?
No.
Okay, so then I think that's what it is, because I've run 3 characters through that first chest every week since it started, and one character only gets materials. One character gets materials and a class item. One character gets materials and an exotic. Like every single time, one of those characters gets each of those. Um,
Oh.
I think it's just a whole lot of luck because in all of my rating, both in the Vault and Glass and in Crota's End, now granted, I only was running 2 characters through those things until recently. I've only ever gotten an exotic once. Just finally recently, I got an exotic Dragon Breath right after I bought it. But that's the only exotic I've ever pulled from any raid chest ever.
Yeah, everything I've heard, and I've every once in a while I'll go on and read comments off different things people post and stuff. I really think it's all random. I have 2 characters I went down there for what, 2 weeks in a row. My hunter got an exotic and my titan got an exotic from that first chest. But I mean, just with bolted glass I really think it's random. But with randomness, the way the mind creates patterns, so we're gonna assume that it's not, But with all the stuff I've ever heard, that's how some people run the raid 20 times and don't get the one thing they want. Other people get 3 of them,
Got it. Interesting. All right, Agrios.
All right, continuing. More for the pit encounter. They are removing the physics impulse caused by the exploding lanterns. So no more lantern launching up over the cliff to cheese the first section.
Is that something that you've done, Agrios? Have you been able to do that?
I have done it. Doing it, getting it to work is almost as much fun as actually trying to do the raid the right way, just because of the oddity of the ways it's doing it. I did, however, beat the entire raid without any cheese prior to ever cheesing any parts with any other characters.
Gotcha.
See, that does sound like a lot of fun. I hadn't actually heard about this till now. And
yeah, you're able to solo the whole way through the second part of the raid using a couple different cheese tactics. And doing it's actually still fun to do.
Launch yourself. That sounds funny.
Yeah, you climb up on a rock ledge above a lamp, the second lamp, as a matter of fact. You have to get up on the rock ledge above it after you've started it going, and when it blows, if you're standing back far enough behind the ledge to shield enough of the blast to stay alive, but take enough of the blast, it launches you up on the first cliff that you normally have to walk the whole way down and around. Now, since you've jumped right up to that cliff, the thralls aren't sure what to do right at that point, and they start trying to figure out how to get up around the cliff, but there's none up on top yet, because you didn't lead them up around the cliff edge. So then you proceed to just walk to the end of the maze. You snipe one knight and then snipe an ogre at the end. The bridge forms and you cross into the next section.
I always like to think of the first person that happened to. Like, was that an accident? This dude's like, hey, I'm going to hang out on this rock. It blows up. He happens to not die. Looks around like, oh, what the hell?
I could just walk the rest of this.
Or do you think it's really, or there's somebody there that's really trying all these little things to be the first person to figure out the little tricks? But I like to think that's an accident the first time.
Right? That's a really good question. That's funny. I you know what? And it could be either one. I could see somebody having done it by accident and then trying to do it. But it happened pretty quick. It was pretty quick when that one came out. The community is an interesting creature. Like trying to imagine myself from Bungie's point of view, where here's this set of rules, this environment, and then just watching people break into the other parts and do things that weren't intended. That's got to be a way interesting thing.
Yeah, it was by the second week of Crota's End that video had been released. It was on Reddit that it was posted initially. I believe it was a hunter, if I'm not mistaken. He released the whole first sections. He soloed through it.
Crazy. Anybody else? Has anybody else done that? I tried to get the lantern to explode and push me over, but I couldn't get the hive off of me in time. I didn't do it right. I'm not really very good at cheesing. I'm much better at a straight ahead challenge that has good rules. That's why the Atheon's challenge is such an insane mind screw, because it doesn't matter if you're good or not if there's going to be glitches that change the game like magic. So if my choices are to try and hit this straight on, but also just sit there and not get past it because we can't or cheese it, I'm just going to cheese it. It seems to me that cheesing is just another way of doing things. If it wasn't, they should take out the option of doing it if they don't want people to do it. and that's what they're doing with many of these changes that we've listed so far.
I think too many people call too many things cheesing too. I think, I mean, when you go to a real war between, real people in real life, like a bunch of people don't all run out into the middle of the battlefield anymore and just start shooting each other in the wide open. Like they barely peek out of whatever little foxholes or rooms they have on their sides and shoot at each other. To a degree. I mean, there's of course other tactics that are used and things like that. But I mean, I think like when people call like using like the anti-room to take on Fogoth on the hard modes cheesing. But the simple fact is, if they didn't want you to use the anti-room, once you went into the main room, that door would just shut permanently sealed, and you wouldn't be able to go back out there at all to use it.
Totally.
So the fact that it stays open and they make shriekers spawn in there to make things difficult, to me, that's just a tactic that's supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Well, there supposedly was a reason for doors not closing. Just like it might cause griefing, like in World of Warcraft, a lot of people will start the boss and they'll close off people from getting into the room.
Well, you just do it when the last person enters. In fact, there are rooms in Destiny that do that, like when you're fighting the Kel. His door, as long as someone stays in the hallway, will stay open. But if all the party members enter the Kel's chamber, his door will shut and you won't be able to leave.
Oh, that's totally true.
You know what will happen then? One person won't go in, so the door always stays open so they can snipe.
Which is a potential tactic, but then when you put a shrieker in that room, that forces the room to get emptied, or that person's going to die. And when that room emptied, they could just close the door.
Right.
The real question is, why didn't they just make the shrieker not despawn?
Well, that's because it's supposed to be a valid tactic that you're supposed to use.
Okay, so Bell Bunny says, and I think it's a pretty good thing. She says, I think there are 3 tiers: cheesing, not so bad, in a room you found, etc. Exploiting, pushing the final boss, etc. Cheating, pulling the cable to break the game.
Exactly.
I will definitely go along with that. I just keep coming back to if we weren't supposed to use it, then they need to take it out. Like they did with the Archon Priest. They didn't want you just climbing under that thing anymore, so they blocked it off. I mean, they're not above just cutting off your use of these things. So the things that are still in there, although I mean, maybe they're keeping track. How many times have you cheesed Fogoth? Like who's the biggest cheater?
We'll see that in the next update.
Yeah.
Aside from people using physically modded systems or physically hacking things and using, programs and things to do additional things, if you're just doing normal things within the game, like, it is just a game. So, like, I don't think down upon, too much upon anybody using any sort of tactic, because in the end, it is just a game. So, who cares? Have fun.
Yeah,
I feel the same way.
I think there's also a fine line of, are we doing this because this is how we want people to play the game, or are we doing it to take away their fun? And I think that's a fine line that Bungie or anybody, any sort of game developer has to walk sometimes when it comes to these things. Running the Nightfall when there's burns or other things that, the boss is using that burn that is his type. It gets difficult sometimes, and taking out the cheese spots, does force you to play the way that they want you to, and sometimes it just makes the encounter almost too difficult. And so I agree with you guys that there's certain lines that I definitely won't cross when it comes to playing Destiny. But do I cheese stuff? Yes. Why? Because I don't really want to spend half an hour fighting this Nightfall boss. I'd rather just finish him in 5 or 6 minutes and then move on to the rest of what I want to do that night.
Okay, so I think it breaks down like this, because being at this point in my video game playing life, I've been playing video games for a long time. Like back to Atari, back to like before Nintendo was even out. Like I've gamed for a long time, and I've gone through several different stages in my gaming life. And at one point in my gaming life, I had so much time on my hands that I would do really super hard stuff just because I had hours to blow. And if I had that kind of time right now, like if I had the kind of time that I did when I was a kid, I would be all about doing it the right way or doing it solo, the right way. Like looking at Dato, he spends a lot of time doing these things. Like he's got the time because it's partially what's paying his bills, or who even knows, he could be totally self-sufficient through YouTube at this point with all of the views and followers that he has, which is awesome. But I don't have that. Like I have a family that I need to take care of, and so in my mind, I can spend an hour cheesing this and feel good about my game time, or I can spend an hour just being so frustrated. Like 3 weeks ago was the last time I raided, and we didn't get anywhere. We started at Crota. 3 hours later, we still hadn't beat him, and it was just the most frustrating. Why did I do that? And the people were like, "Oh, we could just cheese this part. We could disconnect," and I didn't want to do that. And then since then, I've just felt like crap because I should have just done it. I should have just cheesed it. We would have been done. I would have got that sweet, the sweet emblem. But instead, I wanted to do it the right way, and I wasted my 3 hours, the 3 hours I have a week to do this. I wasted it trying to do it the right way. And I just don't have the time that I used to. I would love to. But I mean, I think it's what it comes down to is how much time do you got, buddy?
I kind of agree, like what you're saying. And at the end of the day, I mean, the whole point of them making this video game is for us to have fun. So there are times where I run in there and give it a shot, go for it the hardest way you can. And there's times where you had the time and you were at the right people, and that's what's fun. There's other times where, like you said, the time becomes like something you want. I've done that same thing with a raid before and ran it through. I've ran the raids before and been so fast, and this is awesome. And I've ran it with people where I'm like just beating my head against the wall, like, and then finish, and then it's like you're just in a bad mood, like what, like. So basically, at the end of the day, cheesing, not cheesing, as long as what you're doing is fun and everybody's enjoying it, I feel like that's kind of the whole point. I mean, we're taking, everybody takes it so serious, and I kind of agree. Like, I'm sure they didn't mean for us to use certain things the way they did, but if it's within the game, then it's within the game, I'm not also one of the people that complain too much when they change things, but
So I'm probably going to be the martyr here. So firstly, I want to wonder why people think cheesing is fun to begin with. Like, just sitting in a corner shooting at a boss, like, that's not that fun. But
if you're with the right people.
Well, see, that's just more time spent with people. But
well, that's what the game Destiny. We're supposed to be people together.
What we shouldn't be like attacking people for cheesing, and we shouldn't be attacking people for not cheesing. What we should be more worried about is why aren't these encounters fun to do normally?
I agree with that. That's actually the best statement of all.
Yeah, that actually leads. Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's the thing. Like, if I didn't feel like I mean, you're right. Peeking through the crack of a thing, shooting the blurry thing across whatever for 15 minutes isn't the greatest thing. Although, there's something at the end of it. I shot into a loot cave for a long time. You wouldn't think that's fun. I enjoyed the shit out of it. Kind of tear to my eye. I feel like that's a little cheesy, but I had a lot of fun in that. So, kind of weird stuff, but it should be, like you said, just right off the bat. It'd be nice if it was just the perfect level.
So right along those lines, and also to address what Remy had said about how bummed he was after the last Crota attempt that failed that he was part of. This is a problem that's illustrated like even more by the raids than the other parts of Destiny, is that there is an incredible lack of any other form of reward except for the end rewards in the raid. Nothing like drops very many endgames ever. There seems to be an extremely low rate of any sort of other things like that dropping in the raid. And I understand they got to be concerned about people farming or whatnot, but like if you still ended up with something after all that time spent, even if your group couldn't take down Crota, and that 3 hours wasn't a total waste, that you literally have nothing to show for it afterward, I think that would equate to more fun. Like, if your failed attempt still came out with some sort of reward.
And I think that kind of goes into, I mean, and I love the game, and I'm still playing it. But I'm always talking to people, and I'm always saying, I wish there was a little more, like something. Like, collectible things. I mean, something just that doesn't have to actually have an effect on the game, but something, like you said, like if you could still get something out of a raid that doesn't even have to have something to do with damage or your character, just something to represent your time, like just a little more depth in the game, even if it's pointless. Like I'm starving for extra little stuff.
Well, every game should value the gamer's time in the game. Like, no matter what they're doing, it should be accounting towards a goal. But if you spend like 3 hours going through a nightfall, dying, restarting, going through a nightfall, dying, restarting, your time is effectively wasted. And that's not fun at all.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, so yeah, Nightfalls and Raids both have a bit of that issue. I mean, Nightfalls, at least they drop a little like normal levels of loot, but I noticed in the Raids there's just nothing seems to ever drop from anything. Like I end up with no engrams that I can recall after most of my raids or anything
Yeah,
like
I don't
that.
think I ever have.
Yeah.
I would like it if raids dropped like Glimmer, just you kill so many majors and ultras, like just drop Glimmer while we're in there. That would be a reward enough for me, honestly.
But I think
I'd be
they're
good
they're
with it.
concerned about people just dying and repeating the sections over and over and over again. But I mean, you can really do that anywhere in Destiny. But that's the argument I hear against the Glimmer aspect, is that then people will just go to a section and murder, die, murder, die.
I mean, I've seen several Bungie accounts tweet out videos of certain Glimmer farming sections.
Yeah, I mean,
I saw
people are
it
gonna
too.
do that one way or another. I mean, that's the whole. I mean, if you get Glimmer by killing things, then what does it matter if you die and go back and kill more things? I mean, that's what people want to do with their time. Like that's where it kind of goes into: is this what the game was meant to be, or is this what you enjoy doing with your time? You know?
I agree. Yeah, yeah. It's a weird fine line there.
Yeah.
Well, then, shall I continue on the news?
Yeah. Well, okay. So here's where it goes back in my mind to like lateral fun. Like I still want to put time into Destiny, but I mean, shooting things only goes so far. I really, really, really need a Forge mode. I think I'm just going to mention this in every single episode of this until we get it, because I want to create. I want to create. I want to live in this world. You know what I really want to do? I want to make forts. Like the idea of making a map with like 2 forts seems like such a great fun thing to do, and then inviting friends over and to play these games. Like, oh my goodness, like gaming would be insane on Destiny if we could have these things. And I know that I shouldn't keep my hopes up, but I mean, Bungie, I am addicted to the setup that Bungie had in Halo. Like, honestly, forging it was just what I did most, and I love to create scenarios. I love to think about what people are going to do next. Like, if I put this pillar here, are people going to go left most likely? Are people going to go right? How do I get them to go where I want them to go? How do I hide stuff from them that's obviously there? Like there's just so much game I still want to play in Destiny that's not there. Yeah, I love shooting things and I love doing bounties, but I need another side of this to play. Like I think that I probably wouldn't complain about much at all if I had a forged mode to play around with.
I think you got a long time to wait, considering we don't even have capture the flag in Crucible. By the time they come around to actually letting you make maps and other people run around, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I know you talked to me about this because you love it, and I know you love it so much, but I don't know how they'd work that into the game as far as what it seems like they're trying to do with the game.
I'm curious to know why capture the flag is your go-to for that. Like,
well, I'm just saying it's a basic PvP thing. I mean, I don't know, or even assault, or I mean, it's just a very limited options in the Crucible. I feel. With the amount of stuff that's out there.
I really want assault. I really want assault. Assault's
Yeah.
such a fun game type. I'm so ready for that.
I mean, I like those options. I mean, yeah, it's fun to run around and kill each other, but I don't always have a group of friends that are on, so I'll go by myself. And if you're by yourself, at least if there's objectives, then it breaks things up. I mean, if you're not with a group of people and you just jump in and you come up against another group of people and it's just all about killing each other, you're not going to last very long. Whereas at least if there's objectives and stuff, it breaks up it just gives a different strategy. It breaks up the stuff.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. Okay, so that's all I wanted to add, Agrios. We can continue.
All right, moving along. Let's see here. Okay, so we left off at the pit encounter. We were talking about cheesing there. Moving on to the bridge encounter. Players will now be required to cross the bridge in order to complete the bridge encounter. Players will now be required to wait for the bridge to be completed prior to crossing with the sword. So that means no more hiding in the back of the sword bearer's room and then sniping the ogres to beat that section. It also means no more flying across the chasm with the sword when the bridge isn't formed. Effectively, more or less ending soloing of that part. Does anybody have anything they want to say about that, or should I move on?
I wonder if they're going to make it so you can't jump on top of that building that you come out of in that section anymore. Because I saw somebody solo that section and they just jumped to the top of that building and they sniped everything in the room. They sat there with their icebreaker, and then I wonder if they'll take that out as well.
Well, that would fall under players will now be required to cross the bridge in order to complete the bridge encounter. Like, I bet you that when they say that, they mean the ogres are not going to spawn until there's certain people or the people are all on the other side like they're supposed to be. Because right
Gotcha.
now you're basically tricking it into thinking there's no one left on the side that you enter on, and then the ogres spawn. Then you snipe the ogres, and the ogres are the win condition. So now, when it says players will now be required to cross the bridge in order to complete the bridge encounter, I imagine that means that the ogres are going to actually not come out until they know everybody's over there.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Continue.
The Death Singer encounter fixed a rare case where the Shriekers would not spawn, preventing players from reaching the Death Singer. I actually had that occur to me once with one of my groups. Anybody else run into that?
All the time.
Yeah, I only had it once myself.
That it was like me, Twisted Shots, Bell, Infamous Band-Aid. That would happen to us all the time. We managed to get through it, but it was a minor inconvenience at most, in all honesty. But I think we were probably that rare case a lot of the time.
Well, you're on Xbox. Most of the people I know are on PS. I wonder if it's more prevalent on one system. I wonder if some of these bugs are more prevalent on one system than the other.
I would agree with that. I've seen some differences in between the two games that lead me to believe that, I mean, it could just absolutely be random all across the board, and I'm just looking at two different versions. I'm looking at two different playthroughs, but I don't know. I feel like, well, I mean, even Datto posted about this. I think it was last week or the week before. He said he posted how many times he'd run the Vault of Glass and Crota's End on PlayStation, and then he said and he listed that he never got Corrective Measure and he never got that the Song of Urut, and then he runs it one time each on Xbox and he got both of those. So it's how does it even factor in? Because I don't know.
Well, I know in all of my Crota End runs so far, the first time I ran on my Warlock, I got Song of Urut. First time I ran it on my Titan, I got Song of Urut, and I've never gotten any other weapon any of the times that I've ever run it.
Crazy.
Hey, Remy, just a quick question. Your Xbox and PlayStation accounts, are they linked to the point where like your Grimoire score is the exact same?
No, it's not. It's it's one for PlayStation and one for Xbox.
Okay.
So
yeah, I was thinking if they were linked, maybe that's what it is. Is like you've gotten so much good loot on one, so we're giving you the loot you don't have on this one. But if they're separate, that doesn't work.
Totally. I mean, they both log into the same Bungie account. I don't know. I guess they just had to create two completely separate places to play Destiny. They're just not connected, which makes sense. So, right on.
Okay, moving on. To the Crota encounter. 2 sword bearers will no longer spawn at the same time at the outset of the encounter. Crota
I've
will
never
now
heard of that.
recover. Oh yeah, they're apparently if you move quick enough to do something in the beginning, like clear out the one side super quick, you can get one to spawn immediately before you like take the chalice or anything.
Okay, because from the update, it just sounded like that's a common occurrence. I've just
It's
never seen 2 at one time.
Like it's something that players are doing. I don't know. I've never done it myself or anything like that. But I read about it once. There's something that they're doing super quick initially to get one to spawn before the one that would normally spawn.
Mm-hmm.
So they're 2 out at the same time that you can try to kill them both at the same time, and then have 2 people attack him at the same time with the swords on the first kneel and take him out in one sword attack.
Sounds epic, actually.
It takes some coordination to actually, get it all done at the same time. I mean, the sword bearers aren't overly easy to drop to begin with. I imagine it would take some coordination with some Gallahorners.
That fight would have been so much funner if everyone just had swords.
Yeah, I can agree with that, Jess.
Crota will now recover from his kneeling state after a player quits. So when the leader leaves the party, he'll no longer be glitched into his stooped over position, making him infinitely vulnerable till you kill him.
Man, after sitting there for that 3 hours that day, I really wish we had done that. Continue.
They also fixed a bug that allowed players to remove the presence of Crota using a Radiance Warlock's Fireborn ability. And fixed a bug that made the Oversoul appear destroyed to some players in a fire team when it was actually still active.
Hated that.
Okay, so this is an interesting thing because when we did play, we did do that Sunsinger glitch, but I don't know. I didn't feel like we needed it. Like I feel like the chalice. I feel like you losing your regenerative abilities until you hold that chalice is a really cool, a really fun teamwork enabled deal. Like I really, really liked it, and we did it a couple of times. It just took so much time to do it, and really the problem was not that we were dying. The problem was that Crota was not dying. And because that doesn't help us, regenerating doesn't help us. I mean, it's fun. Using the chalice, I think, is fun. And we were talking about things that might be present in this next iteration of Crota's End. And I think the idea of everybody losing health until you're either close to the person or until you have to hold it yourself. I think that might add a really nice urgency to it. Yeah, I don't know.
No, I kind of like that idea as long as it doesn't kill you outright, like sapping your life to a certain point, like 10% or something, and then it not do that anymore. Because
down to the red.
Yeah, down into the red. That
would
sounds
be
perfect
cool.
to me.
That would be cool. I like that a lot. Yeah, because you're right. It would have to be something that you only stood next to if it was going to keep doing it until it killed you. But yeah, just taking down your shields until you went back over there would be an interesting version as well.
I also think my other call for this, since we're talking about it, is that he's going to summon Oversouls periodically, even when someone doesn't die. Like maybe every time he goes to move from left to right to center or whatever, he's going to summon an Oversoul too that everybody will have to drop.
That's crazy.
I mainly think that because I think it would be a decent dynamic, and I also think it would make the chest pieces vastly more important than they are now.
Agreed.
I kind of wonder if the fight's going to be extended just because of that one post before the DLC dropped that said that Crota has many different forms. So I'm wondering if hard mode going to have a second.
Yeah, that's
that would be awesome.
After you drop down Crota, if he turns into something else.
That would be
Yeah.
way awesome. And actually, from that specific thing you're mentioning, that's what I thought too. I thought that there was going to be multiple layers to it, and that would be way cool. They did say also you'll have to learn a new trick or two, which could also lead right into that. Super awesome. Good thinking, Warlock.
Oh, got muted there. Sorry. Yeah, I started talking, and I'm like, wait a minute, something's not right. So, continuing, the Vault of Glass will also receive an update. Exotic weapon drops in the Vault of Glass are now level 32, finally. So, no more level 30 weapons as rewards in the Vault of Glass.
You know, I kind of feel like
exotic weapons.
Exotic weapons, correct.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so the Vision of Confluence is still going to maintain its current 300 attack, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I think that this is something that I've seen a lot in the community asking for. Like they're saying it's not making sense, but I don't know. I feel like I think I talked to you about this, Agrios. You know, it's a lower level challenge, and so having that lower level loot made sense. And I mean, you're still getting the exotic. Now you just have to wait for Zur to show up. But I guess this was a pretty. I mean, how many exotics can you get from one run? Like if you're really lucky, like how
Two.
do it's just two?
Well, you could also get Vex Mythoclast.
Okay,
like-
so that's additional on top of everything else, right?
From what I've seen, yeah, because you get the one from the Gorgon chest. And I've seen a normal exotic and Vex Mythoclast from Atheon.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't get one from two different chests in the Vault of Glass? I thought the other chest also had a chance of dropping them. The one in the beginning. The one in the beginning?
I've never seen the one in the beginning give anything other than shards.
Me neither.
Yeah, well,
Maybe that super that we still don't know how to unlock that's way off in the distance of the teleporting room.
Wait, we know of another chest and we haven't gotten to it yet?
Well, it's like a chest staging area, like the no teleport Atheon. There's
that platform that we want to get to at the bottom
Yeah.
of the disappearing things.
Totally.
Where the big thing is. Yeah.
Totally. So nobody's figured that out yet? That's funny. That's awesome. We need to
And-
figure that out.
At least now there's a reason to go back there, so someone might stumble upon it, but there was no reason for people to even try to find out.
Interesting.
And I should say that people aren't like annoyed that the Vault of Glass stuff isn't as good as Crota, but they're mad that vendor stuff is better.
Yeah. I could see that. I could see that.
Theoretically better.
Well, it's better on paper. Because
Only
of the
on
numbers.
paper.
Well, I mean, and also light level, better on light level.
They will do more damage to enemies that are like 31.
Hmm. But that's not the end all be all. I put a lot of
Well-
weight in those perks.
Well, wait until you start trying to use Vision of Confluence against hard mode Crota.
That's what I was just going to say. They're not going to be useful at all because we think about it. Look at what the science that Remy was talking about in the beginning of the show. How 3 levels difference is a 59% damage reduction, something like that.
That's Guardian level.
Well,
Guardian
right.
level is more like the difference between like one level on weapons. I think is at most 10%. It's not as much. It still makes a difference, but
But
it's
what
not
I'm
as
pointing
much.
out is that this is a level. This is level 30 Crota's end, and the enemies at the end are level 32. So if we get a level 33 Crota's end hard mode, that means the enemies are at the end are going to be level 35. And if everybody's capped out at level 32, that's a 3-level difference. So it's already a 59% damage reduction. I'm pretty sure every little bit of weapon attack power is going to count.
Here. I just brought up the stats, okay? So, 2 legendary weapons, same name. One's a 331, the other one's a 300. That's a 12.92% damage difference. So, maybe significant, maybe not. Like I said, I personally feel that there's a lot more weight in the perks, depending on the weapon that you have.
That'll
Yeah.
still work out to be a ninth shot that you need to make compared to 8 shots.
Well, be accurate.
Yeah, if you have a weapon you like, I feel like the 12% is worth sticking with something that you feel comfortable with. But
I,
I mean, just like
I would
any
agree
game,
with
you
that.
want the next
Everything's
thing up.
hard mode.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. At the very end, yeah. When you go into the highest stuff, you want to take the highest number of stuff you can. Usually,
Hmm.
I mean, unless, like you said, if there's a perk or something that you really rely on and it's a play style that you like or something like that,
Hmm.
then I mean, some of those perks do give you bonus damage. So I mean, maybe that bonus damage equals up to that 12% at times, or
Yeah, good point.
could be
I like it.
interesting.
I like it too.
I like that we can talk about it. It's a lot of interest. Just the fact we're talking about that's because 31 points in weapons. That's what I was like. I'm like, well, is it really worth it? I'm like, of course I'm gonna do it. It's the next thing to do. But I'm like, 31 points, like 300 to 331. I was like, that's kind of odd, to a certain degree.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know.
And I know a lot of people out there have that same question. So definitely check out the link to the Reddit page, please.
Awesome.
Moving on, they briefly note the Crucible and state that the raid crew wasn't the only team readying tweaks heading into and out of the holiday season. Our Crucible designers had a few things in the works to add some spice to the early goings of 2015. Asylum, the Anomaly, and the Burning Shrine maps will be added to existing Clash and Control playlist rotation. And the Iron Banner will return with updated rewards running from January 13th through January 19th. They go on to promise that full and final details for Raid, Crucible, and Iron Banner updates will be provided as patch notes next week.
Awesome.
Have you tried out many of the new PvP maps, Remy?
No, none of them at all. I have not played. So basically the expansion dropped, and I basically just shoved as much Destiny as I could down my throat, and then with the birth of my son, it's just been basically I've not played a tenth of the time that I usually play. The schedules have just been so thrown off, and it's funny because this last couple of weeks I've been so bummed on Destiny because I want to play, and I just haven't seen any of my friends online, and so I'm thinking, well, I got to find some new friends. I got to find some less industrious friends. Like Agrios, you are way too proactive in the Destiny world. Like I'm just so far behind. Even at 2 hours after it changes on Tuesday morning, you're already done with half of your raids, and so I started thinking I need to find new friends that aren't so on top of shit. And then I realized I just need to get back to playing some Destiny. Like that's where the bottom line is. The bottom line is I haven't had the time to play it, and so Crucible has been way bottom of the barrel. But I have been thinking a lot more about it recently, in terms of like getting people together or joining people who are on Twitter who are about to go play. Like sometimes I'll see people posting pictures where they've had to team up with somebody they don't know. I would have loved to have had that spot, 5 other people knowing what they're doing. But it all comes back to how much playtime you have. What do you think about those new maps?
I haven't done any of them. I haven't PvP'd since the start of the Dark Below for the most part.
Wow. Has anybody here played on those maps, and are you enjoying them?
They're pretty sweet, I gotta say. The Cauldron's a lot of fun, and what's the name of the other one? The other small map, because Skyshock is a pretty good big map. It's a lot of foliage around, and it's pretty good for sniping. What's that other small one? Anybody? Nobody?
There is the I can't remember either.
The Cauldron's the one on the moon.
Right.
Pantheon?
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one that's on the Black Garden. Oh, that one's so nice.
I had to Google it.
Oh, the backdrop is nice, and I just like how I love how there's these corridors that just kind of elbow off. So there's a lot of good corners that you can surprise people around. It makes the battles really tense. I really like it. Plus they got that one super long hallway, which a lot of people like to snipe. Anyways, a lot of fun, all of it.
Right on. Why don't we? Was there something that you could? Our show is on the outs, so why don't you wrap up whatever it is that you had going, Agrios?
Well, that's the end of that section. They did go on to note that they mentioned their Christmas gift, and they hope that everybody enjoyed that. They understand that it was going to go straight into the bin for some people, but hopefully it will be be something legendary for others. Did you guys enjoy your gifts?
This is a great question. This is where we'll end the show. So I did not bin either of mine yet. For the Xbox, I got another Harm's Way, which is sad because I already have a Harm's Way, but I'm going to check out the things, the bonuses on it. But for the PlayStation, I got another Devil You Don't, and I tweeted about it, and I tweeted "Con" because why? Because why? I don't want this gun. But when I looked at the perks, one of them was Outlaw, which is cool. It dramatically increases reload speed after a critical kill. It also had the Third Eye, which is always a plus in my book. And then it had Scout. What is it? Scout.
The extra ammo.
Yeah, it brings up your
Field Scout.
Field Scout.
Field Scout.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know what exactly that does, because I had it on one of my guns and it brought it up one shot. It literally brought it up one shot. And I think
Really?
that was from like 11 to 12 or from 12 shots to 13 shots. And so I'm curious to know what kind of boost I can expect when I finally get there. Does anybody know exactly what Field Scout does?
It will take it to 13 rounds.
It will?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, because then the Devil You Don't might actually be worth it, with
I'd run
Third
that
Eye.
for sure if it had 13.
It will
Third
take
Eye.
you to 13 rounds and let you carry significantly more total ammo.
Okay, yeah, so Third Eye, Field Scout, and Outlaw, I mean, this might be a really good gun to have. And so initially I said, no, this is...
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
But yeah, I'm way interested in getting that up to it. So I haven't binned it yet.
I'm legitimately pissed off because I bought it from the thing and it doesn't have any of that stuff. And
That's right.
it's just, it doesn't have enough ammo for me. I mean, it's not a bad gun. It doesn't feel bad or anything like that, but I was using it and I went back to, I just bought from Zur the thing for the last word. And I'm like, I'm just going to use this instead. If I had Field Scout, if I had 13 shots on that, it'd be a very nice.
Third Eye.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, so I don't know.
Send that to me?
I wish I could.
You don't even like hand cannons. Give me that.
I wish I could.
So here's the thing that you brought up, Tanner. That's a really good point. Is that everybody's gift is essentially like a drop or an Ingram. So it's going to have different perks than what you would find from the Vanguard or from any of the other factions. So in your case, Remy, you got a much better Devil You Don't than what would be available to everybody else.
Totally.
And I hope everybody realized that before dismantling what they thought was garbage. Yeah.
Well, mine had a bunch of reload speed after a melee kill, and it was also a void fusion rifle, so I was pretty not happy with it.
Yeah, I got a fusion rifle, and I was kind of like, I feel like at this point, this is something me and Remy talked about too. I almost feel like I get exotics more than I get like I would like a bigger staple of legendaries to pick from because I have exotics, and I'm like I can only use one. And really, Icebreaker, if I'm going into anything really big, unless I need a specific burn, it's already chosen before I even start. I need more legendary stuff. Like it's almost if I get a nice legendary weapon, I'm just as excited, if not more now, because it's more useful more times.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
That's another good point that a lot of people overlook is that your exotics are better than a lot of these legendaries, but you can only equip one. You still need some legit legendaries to round out your build.
Yep. I'm still trying to find a good primary and good secondary or special legendary, because right now I'm still running Vision of Confluence and a 300 attack sniper that I picked up like my first week.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. I have pieces of gear that are like that. That are just, I don't know, just so awesome.
Well, it's like I picked up a sniper rifle and it was I can't remember what it's called right now, but it was arc and it had the last bullet does extra damage, and when the clip is empty, it reloads faster.
That's awesome.
So it's like
That's good
wow,
combo.
and it's got like 4 shots and it has field scope, but I did choose it because I'd much rather have to reload more because that
Yeah,
last
that's true.
bonus.
So what about
Well-
you, Warlock? Did you bin yours, or were you pleased by yours?
Yeah, I binned mine just because it was the third scout rifle I would have had, and my other ones that I had were better. So I was just like, free energy.
Right, I feel like the gifts that they were going to give us were pretty much going to fall flat unless you got a crazy one like that Devil You Don't that I got, because the weapons that they have, I mean, they're just really uninspiring. Like, I was so excited to see new vendor weapons, and then when I got there I was like, well, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this. And then, I started to realize that really what you want is one of those weapons that have other options. The ones you buy suck. But then what do I do with all these? What do I do with all these commendations?
Just
I,
use them
uh,
for reforging. Oh wait,
That's what I was just going to say. Oh my god, Bungie, please let us reforge. I don't care if it costs commendations or motes of light. I'll be there rattling my little cup beside the crucible, offering services for spending everything I got on reforging all day long.
Man, you know what? That's totally it. That is totally it. I would buy a couple of those weapons from the Vanguard if I could just re-roll their stats. That would be a really fun part of the game. There was a part in Phantasy Star where you could grind your weapons with these different levels of bonus, and sometimes your weapon would break, and then you wouldn't have it anymore. I don't think that they would add that because that's pretty crazy, but I don't know.
to
I don't
tie
know.
everything back around to make your time in like raids worth it, it should be a guaranteed drop of something that you use, and it lets you change one of your things that it rolled, like a mini reforge that you choose yourself.
Oh, I think I see what you're saying. That would be cool.
That way, over time, you could craft the set of weapons that you want.
That would be awesome. I'm down for that. But then that goes against their, you finding a new one. I don't know. I don't know where that's going to thing. But any other comments for this?
Yeah, let me let you guys know what I got. I got the legendary auto rifle up for anything. That's it.
Oh,
And I didn't even realize this was a widely used auto rifle until the Bungie weekly update today.
me too.
It's like one of the top 10, right?
Yep.
And this one in particular has the reactive reload, which is reloading this weapon after a kill grants a damage bonus for a short time, as well as the glass half full perk. Bottom half of each magazine causes
That's
additional
awesome.
damage. Yeah,
nice.
I'm really happy about this one. It's like
What about the
it's
hidden
almost like a
perks?
mini Suros. What's that?
What about the hidden perks? You got any good ones like Field Scout?
Let's see here. Fitted stock, more stability, field scout. Yep, got that one.
Oh,
Hammer forged, improved range and accuracy. So overall, I feel really happy about this one.
Yeah,
That's
pretty-
awesome. That's awesome. I actually have gone to the Vanguard a couple times this week thinking, okay, I have to spend these marks. What am I going to buy? I'm going to buy that. And then I think, no, I'm just going to wait for it to be dropped in my lap because, well, number one, I don't like any of the sites that are on it. I really only like using red.oas or red.oes. Like those are the two that I love to use. And it doesn't come with either of those. So
Hey, I got red.oas as well on this thing.
yeah, that's so awesome.
you
Yeah,
got
it's
good
like an
ones.
exotic.
Right?
So yeah,
So
pretty
as a
happy.
weird aside,
Yeah.
how come I can't randomly find like a scout rifle with like higher powered scopes and stuff? Like more variety.
Totally. You know what? I've actually noticed that this time around there seems to be more variety in the scopes to all of the weapons. I've seen a couple heavy machine guns with that red dot OAS, and it's I don't know. That's got to be a really fun gun to use. Well, I mean, if the recoil is not too bad. Okay, unless we have any other comments or questions.
Nope.
Alrighty. That is the end of our show, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 23. Thank you for listening. Shout outs, starting with Tanner.
Thanks for letting me hang out with you guys. Keep it real out there.
Agrios.
Coda cuts the trees.
Coda cuts the cheese. Jez.
I don't know if I have one. Shout out to nothing.
Prime Guard.
Yeah, shout out to Prime Guard. Or shout out to nothing, because that's where all my good weapons go.
Crimson Warlock.
You know, I'm going to shout out to Dado, and mostly because he's taken a lot of crap this week, and he's taken it gracefully, and his video that he put out today about it was pretty good, though I feel like he shouldn't have had to have done that.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out to Dado, because he is cool. He's a big monolith in the community. A lot of people follow him and love his community and stuff, so shout out to him. Keep doing what you're doing, and you know what? Don't let the trolls get to you too much.
You know, I love Dato. He's a really cool guy, and I feel bad for him. At the same time, I feel good for him, because I think the reason that he's been receiving so much negative feedback is it's kind of proportional to how big he's becoming. You know, like his videos, you know, they're getting so many views, they're starting to show up in other places. Like YouTube is advertising him. So instead of just getting the Destiny community in there, he's getting like gaming community in there, and this includes people who hate the crap out of Destiny. So I think that's, you know, it's a good thing that he's doing so well, but at the same time, it really is just bringing in the dregs. So that was a great shout out. I am going to now take it to River. Shout out.
Well, I was actually going to do Dado as well, because he pretty much called everything that Bungie put out in this weekly update today. They were going to fix the raid. They were going to fix all the cheese. And he was really encouraging everybody to do it legit so that they know how to do it. So if they don't know how to do it, too late for you. So sorry.
Right, that's awesome. It's awesome that he takes the time to solo things. He takes the time to do it the right way. I think that's really cool. I don't think that there's any reason to hate on him for that. Especially when he helps so many people. You know? So you said that you were going to shout out to him, or you're not going to shout out?
No, that's he's the man. That was the man.
He is
Not anymore. He only gets one, so
Shout out to Bungie.
He deserves 2.
I'm going to shout out to a Mikey. His name is Mikey, and he ran this show in San Diego. It was called The Mikey Show on Rock 105.3, and I always loved listening to his shows, and they always seemed really unorthodox in that he wasn't your regular radio personality. And I hesitate to say that I've patterned a lot of what I do from him, but really the heart of what I do with this podcast and the people that I've surrounded myself with for this podcast are very much in the same vein, in that we find something we want to talk about, and then we have a really good time just discussing it. And so my shout out is to him. I don't know what he's doing. Recently, I really stopped listening in 2006 when I moved up here to Washington from San Diego, but I always
Pretty sure he got fired or something. And now the rest of the people on his show do his show without him.
Wow. Well, that's
Yeah.
what you guys have
Cheers.
to look forward to.
I'm not even sure if he's on the radio out here anymore. But
Right.
yeah, they still have the show. They just don't call it the Mikey Show anymore. They call it the show.
Right. Well, River, when that time comes, I know that you'll know what to do.
Hey, you might be able to get him to get on the podcast.
Right? That would be awesome.
Heyo.
That would be
Time might
really awesome.
You might have a lot of time on his hands.
Only if he plays Destiny, though. I'm not interested in having him do that. But that's it. That is the show. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you have any questions or comments, please send them to feedback@guardian1.net. And we will see you next week, where we will talk about more Destiny, and it will be awesome. Bye-bye now.